Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the business meeting for the Township of Scotch Plains, August 18th, 2015. Ms. Lucina?
I wish to make the following announcement to show compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, known as Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of New Jersey, 1975. Notice of this meeting was given by adopting an annual schedule of the location, time, and date, sending copies to the Scotch Plains Fanwood Times, the Star Ledger, and the Courier News, posting in the municipal building, and filing a copy with the township clerk within 7 days following the annual organizational meeting of this body. If everyone would please rise for the pledge to the flag and remain standing for invocation.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Dear Lord, please bless us and watch over our community. Help us to be courageous to try new things, to be charitable by sharing with others, to do the work together in cooperation. Let us always meet each other with kindness, acceptance, and an open heart. Guide us with your wisdom, support us with your power, for you are God, sharing the glory of Father and Son. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Lucina, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Checchio?
Here.
Mr. Del Sordi?
Here.
Mrs. Giulianella?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mayor Glover?
Here. All present and accounted for. Next item on our is up for discussion is our public comment. Would someone like to address the council? Please come forward, state your name and address. We'd love to hear from you.
And I would just like to remind everyone that public comment is limited to 3 minutes, and we'll give you a 30-second warning at the end.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, citizens of Scotch Plains. I just wanted to make a comment on the a matter on the agenda tonight. Deals with the police officers going to the academy and their pay grades. And in my experience, I found that after the academy, the town I was with lost some officers because other towns paid more. And there was no commitment in place for the officers coming out of the academy to serve a certain amount of time before they moved on. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out and sharing this with us. Anybody else like to address the governing body? Seeing no one, we'll move on from our public comment portion of our meeting. Next up, we have a very wonderful presentation of recognition for one of our fine athletes, a wonderful citizen, a mom and daddy here, a Special Olympian, a winner, a medal winner, but she's a winner because she competed. And she's represented this township so incredibly proudly, and I'm delighted to share with us tonight. We have Special Olympian Courtney Dreyfus, and I'm going to ask her to come forward because we have a resolution recognizing your wonderful achievements. Mom, Dad, you can join her by all means. We're going to get a photo up here. Bring your little brother. Stand over there by the mic, and I'll get this over. Mom, Dad, just if you would, go join Courtney.
Come on down here.
This is a proud moment for the whole family, and we are thrilled that we can be part of it. Well, Courtney, what a list of accomplishments, and this council, this governing body, this entire community of 23,500 citizens are proud to present you with this resolution. And I'm going to read it to you, word by word, okay, line by line. So let us begin, Mom and Dad. Whereas Courtney Dreyfus is going to be a senior at Scotch Plains Fanwood High School and is an extraordinary New Jersey Special Olympic athlete from Scotch Plains who has had significant achievements in the Special Olympics Summer Games and National Games. And whereas Special Olympics provide sports training and athletic competition in a variety of Olympic-type sports for children and adults, giving them continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, utilize their skills, develop friendships, and experience joy. And whereas the 2015 Summer Olympic Games on June 3rd and 14th in Ewing, New Jersey, brought together 2,500 Special Olympic athletes from across New Jersey, as well as a support team consisting of their families, family members, friends, coaches, volunteers, spectators who watched and cheered as Courtney Dreyfus finished first in the 50-meter butterfly and first in the 100-meter freestyle for aquatics. And whereas the 2015 National Olympic Games in Los Angeles during the last week of July brought together 7,000 Special Olympic athletes from across 177 different countries, where Courtney Dreyfus brought Scotch Plains and the USA great joy by placing bronze in the triathlon, silver in the 800-meter swim, and bronze in the swim relay. And whereas Courtney Dreyfus' achievements deserves to be recognized and applauded for her hard work, determination, and spirit, and now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Kevin Glover, and the entire Township Council that sits beside me hereby recognizes you, Courtney Dreyfus, on your outstanding accomplishment and wish you continued success in your future endeavors. I couldn't be more proud of you. I love the Olympics and I love the kids who God bless you. And I love the shirt.
One of the only things to give me. Thank you.
Please, if you'd like to say something, Mom and Dad, and hey, well, what do you think of your sister, huh?
She's great.
Does it get better than that? Does it get better than that? Mom, Dad, no, we all are proud of you too, because we know that these kinds of achievements takes family. Takes hard work and determination from an athlete. We know how competitive that field is, but you gotta have an innocent strength, and that strength always comes from your family, and you're fortunate to have such wonderful parents, Mom and Dad, and they're here with you tonight. So if you'd like to say something, by all means, we've got an open mic, and Mom, Dad, whatever.
I'm going to say something.
Please.
I first of all want to thank the town for recognizing Courtney, but I also want to. Oh, I have to look over that way. Okay.
You on the spot.
Oh.
How's that? You're a winner tonight too, Mom.
Well, I do thank the town for this recognition and of Courtney, whose spirit guides each of us. But I also want to just lift up what a wonderful organization Special Olympics is. And if there's any children anywhere with learning disabilities that you think would flourish in such an organization, by all means recommend it, because it builds teams, it builds athletic ability, it builds self-confidence, and it's just an inspiring thing to watch, whether you're a spectator, a participant, or a coach. So thank you all. This was wonderful.
One more time. Give it up for Courtney. Come on. Everybody up. Everybody up. Great night.
Where do you practice, Courtney? Where do you swim?
When I'm practicing, I sometimes go to the Scotch with YMCA. I also when I'm in Union County, I practice at the Scotch with YMCA. I also now and again go to Manor Park to be with my friends, and that's another treat that I do. When I'm outside, I participate in Special Olympics for swimming, as Governor Culver mentioned, with aquatics, and they are one of they're lots of fun. They're a great team. I've made so many friends on that team. When I'm with the triathlon team, which is what we call ourselves now, I go down to Ocean City and I meet them all there. I meet with my coach and we swim at her pool, and it's just lots of fun.
Congratulations. Butterfly, that's a big deal.
Yeah, we could do that, right?
You know what?
I
So-
think these people would pay to see us.
So this is a little funny. I used to swim butterfly, and well, no, listen, I've gone back to trying to practice, and it is very entertaining. I can just get the feet going the right way. The arms are not coming out of the water.
Courtney,
So good for you, honey.
I'm into floating.
Baby steps, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Love it. There you go.
Well, thank you, Courtney, for being here. Mom, Dad, and what's your little brother's name?
Matthew.
Matthew. Okay. Well, listen, thank you all. We won't keep you here to listen to the rest that's going to take place. It's going to be very civil. It's going to be fun. But we'll do that. You all go and have a treat.
I want to thank you all so much. This is so sweet.
Well,
Oh,
you're very special.
congratulations. Congratulations.
Wow, this is great. This is wonderful. Thank you, Courtney. Thanks, Mom, Dad, and Matthew. Thank you for coming out. Okay. Wow. So we do some good stuff around here, right, Mr. Marabella?
every week.
We love it. We love it. Okay, so now we got to move on, right? Okay, we have public hearings, final adoptions, and we have an ordinance that's right up front, ordinance 2015, 15. So with that, I'm going to ask Ms. Lucina to read the ordinance by title.
An ordinance establishing salaries and wages for intern, communication assistant, human relations purchasing project manager, and part-time director of public property.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor,
Yeah, I'm
I
getting
know
my-
you want to move that this public hearing on this ordinance be opened.
Yes, Mayor, I move that this public hearing on this ordinance be opened.
And I'm going to say, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would anybody like to address the council with reference to this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'm going to ask the council if they have any comments. Hearing no one. Deputy Mayor,
Mayor, I move that the public hearing be closed.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Mayor, I move that this ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and be advertised according to law.
Is there a second?
Second.
May we, do we need all in favor on that? No, we just need a roll call right now. So let's do a roll call, please.
Mrs. Checchio?
Aye.
Mr. Del Sordi?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanella?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Glover?
Aye. We have another ordinance, final hearing, final adoption, public hearing, final adoptions, ordinance 2015-16. Ms. Lucina, would you read that ordinance by title?
An ordinance to establish salaries and wages for certain municipal employees, police department.
Deputy Mayor?
Mayor, I move that the public hearing on this ordinance be opened.
Second.
Is there a second? Good. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Would anybody like to address the council governing body with reference to this ordinance? Seeing no one, are there any comments from the governing body?
I have a comment. I just wanted to let Mr. Sanchez know that his concerns were heard, but that would have been part of the contractual negotiations. This salary ordinance is necessary for us to implement what was already negotiated in the contract. I believe that there are already ample measures in place to keep our police officers here once they've been hired.
Okay, thank you for that clarification to citizen Mr. Sanchez. So we've seen no one coming forward. We've had our comments. Deputy Mayor, I move that.
Mayor, I move that the public hearing be closed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Deputy Mayor?
Mayor, I move that this ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and be advertised according to law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call a roll, Ms. Lucina.
Mrs. Checchio?
Aye.
Mr. Del Sordi?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanella?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Glover?
Aye. The last public hearing and final adoptions on an ordinance is ordinance 2015-17. Ms. Lucina, would you read that by title?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and township clerk to execute a declaration of deed restriction on property commonly known as 1451 Raritan Road, Scotch Plains, New Jersey, to recreation and open space purposes.
Deputy Mayor?
Mayor, I move that the public hearing on this ordinance be opened.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would anyone like to address the governing body council with reference to this ordinance? Seeing no one, any comments from the council? Hearing, yes?
I was just wondering if the attorney, for sake of public hearing purposes, could just walk us through this one particular ordinance.
Sure. This is an ordinance, well, the purpose of the ordinance, the immediate purpose is to make the township eligible for a grant to clean the monies up, to clean the property up. This is, of course, the Terry Luzu property. Without this ordinance, the DEP will not issue the grant. It's what's called a head surf. It's HDSRF and so forth. It's a grant that's available from DEP, as I said, to clean up property which is contaminated. This isn't, as I understand, a badly contaminated property, but does require some cleanup. It authorizes a deed restriction which restricts the property to open space in perpetuity. A question which the council considered was whether that was advisable. It's my opinion that it's not just advisable, but also virtually required, because this is property that was acquired in 2000 with a bond issue, and the people of Scotch Plains are paying through the open space tax essentially the payments that are due on the bond in order to keep this property as open space. So it's being used for open space. It was acquired, or it's being acquired with open space tax monies, and therefore it's being reserved for open space.
So the reason I wanted you to walk us through that publicly is just because we've had matters come up before the previous council where we had opportunity for grant dollars for this space before, and then there was some discussion about whether or not it was appropriate to determine that this land be used as an open space in perpetuity. Now, at the time, we weren't privy to those insights, basically telling us we essentially don't, that decision's already been made for us by matter of how the land was acquired. The restrictions were essentially already in place. And by going through this process now, we are opening ourselves up to additional resources so that we can further enhance the land that is there. If not knowing the background, I feel like it sounds like a very hasty decision. So
Yes, well, I mean, in essence, if for example, the council was to say, well, let's sell this property for development and take the money, it seems to me that you'd be, in essence, cheating the public by having an open space tax, which obviously the public voted for open space, and then acquiring the property for open space, and then selling it for development. It's just inconsistent. And illegally, you can't do it anyway, even if you wanted to, frankly.
the history in the property is that there's been much discussion about selling it for development. So thank you so much for providing that insight.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, can we move that the public hearing be closed?
Mayor, I move that the public hearing be
Is
closed.
there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor, next.
Mayor, I move that this ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and be advertised according to law.
Is there a second?
Second.
May we have a roll call, Ms. Lucina?
Mrs. Cherukh?
Aye.
Mr. Del Sorte?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanella?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Glover?
Aye. Moving right along, may I have a motion to move the business meeting minutes?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move the conference and business meeting minutes of July 21st, excuse me, 2015.
Is there a second?
Second.
I guess we need a, let's see. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Good. Next up, Mr. Marabella, is your manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me go through a couple things quickly. I have a number of items to share with the council and the public tonight. The movie nights have been going extraordinarily well. The public is really coming out and supporting those events and the free events and the movies, and the mayor deserves a lot of credit for implementing that and bringing people to our downtown. This Friday we have Monsters, Inc., And then next week is the wrap-up on the 28th is Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It
So
Ralph.
that's great. Be fun. This Thursday is the car show and doo-wop concert, or the rock and roll concert. And
Rock and roll.
I'm really excited about this, working with the township employees and with you, Mayor, and the rest of the council. It looks like a record number of cars that will come out for the township, and really we're excited for that. It's been the first car show in conjunction with the concert early in July was fantastic, and this proves to be even better, and we're just crossing our fingers with the weather, so that's going to be great. The concert schedule for the summer ends next week on the 27th with the big band, so I hope everyone will come out and continue to support those events. They've been terrific all summer, and it's been a real wonderful community spirit to bring people together. I want to give everybody a quick update on the road construction project and the work that's been done with the roadwork assistance program that you all funded at my direction or request earlier this year in the capital budget. Yesterday, Scotchwood Glen was prepped and will be paved today and be done. And on the 20th, just later this week, the prep and pay for Orchard Drive. This will complete the roadwork assistance program this year, which is well before the schedule from previous years, out certainly in front of the school year starting. So this was a priority for the Public Works yard and for myself this year, is to get that work in, funded by all of you, and done. It was completed 11 road sections on time and under budget, and I think that's key. There are extra dollars that will be left over even through this ordinance, which is terrific, which will be spent improving the sidewalks around the municipal building. There's some high spots, some issues, and I've directed the Public Works to put those dollars into that direction to make this building and the sidewalk around it even safer. We're going to also talk about the American Water property, did all that work on Portland Avenue and Raritan Road, and they completed that work too. So there's been a lot of road construction in Scotch Plains this year, and I'm happy that has moved forward very well. I will be sending the new mayor and the rest of the council a sign that needs your approval. You can write back to me for the Academy for Performing Arts at the vocational school. We have in our ordinance that any signage of that size needs to be approved by the mayor and council. So you'll get an email from me probably tomorrow. If you could just let me know. It's kind of a formality, but it's a nice sign for performing arts down at the Votech campus in Scotch Plains. I'm really happy with the progress that's moving along with the Cultural Arts Committee on Scotch Plains Day, which I signed the contract today. It will be October 4th, and we're excited about that and coming together. More details will be coming out over the next couple of weeks, but I couldn't be happier with the work of the Cultural Arts and Community Events Committee as I'm expanding the scope of that group. I think it's going to be a great event, as all Scotch Plains Days have been.
Tell them about some of the freebies we're throwing in this year for good measure.
Well, it is, yeah, and at the mayor's urging and through the committee, they wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity for the rides, which oftentimes is cost prohibitive for young families, $5, $8 a ride, and they're going to be free this year. So I think
we negotiated a good deal,
terrific.
right?
Yes, we did. Working with a promoter, and you're going to start getting some information on that for the community. So I'm excited about that. We'll have some very cool things for the township residents to celebrate Scotch Plains and Scotch Plains Day.
Can I, how are we working with our local businesses on that? Because that was some feedback, not from this year's event, that had come out of prior year's events, that local businesses felt that they really weren't involved in the process. They didn't have an opportunity to showcase. I mean, how will we be including them in Scotch Plains Day?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I actually had a chance to meet with the president of the Cultural Affairs Committee today and talked a little bit about that. And we're going to work with our businesses to offer them opportunities to be out in front of their business and sell their whatever they sell and open the business up.
Yeah, it's been a little uncomfortable in the past. They weren't permitted to do that. There was some maybe some not so great feelings.
Yeah.
not this year.
I think that was recognized. I think we're trying to get out in front of that. So it's a very excellent question. I'm glad you asked.
Generally, the event is on Sunday, as you know, and a lot of these businesses just have been, historically have been closed. So, those that are open, as, Mr. Marabella mentioned, have been approached already.
Yeah, and I
that's
hope
good.
they'll participate. I think it's a great idea. I want to give a quick communications update.
Just one more thing, Al. Do you want
yeah.
to share with them the health fair, too, that comes, because Scotch Plains Day used to be Saturday and Sunday, and we're doing something very special with your support this year.
Yeah, no, that's
Which is going to
great.
be a big event in the community.
Mayor, thanks. Yeah, October 3rd, the Saturday, the day before Scotch Plains Day, we'll have a health fair for our residents in Scotch Plains. We have some mobile units coming in, some testing, some free services, hopefully some giveaways, flu shots, all going to be wrapped up together. And we've offered flu shots, I guess, in previous years, but it was our desire to expand that, and through some suggestions of the mayor and council, provide that for the community. And I'm really thankful, and I don't single a lot of people out, but Sylvia's done a terrific job. Sylvia Hicks has done a wonderful job organizing and pulling that event together. I think Absolutely. It's going to be terrific. So thanks for mentioning that, Mayor. So communications update. Maybe some folks have realized that we've added a Twitter account and an Instagram account for the Township of Scotch Plains, and it's just a way to kind of capture those tech-savvy, I'll call them the young people these days. I used to count myself among that, and I certainly don't anymore. But this is another way to get information out in the community, and through Twitter and through Instagram. Facebook has been more robustly populated, and of course our website is I think night and day compared to what it used to be, in a good place. I'd encourage Township residents to sign up for the email updates. I think they're really helpful. There's a Friday newsletter that goes out every week, and I think we're really touching at the direction that this mayor and council has given me about improving communication. I think we're well on our way to doing a lot of that. I'll give a quick update on Shady Rest. The mayor and I have been working very closely on getting some things done at Shady Rest so that we can have it reopened for the community in September. There needed to be significant work in and above what we anticipated on the roof. That work's been done. The roofer has to come back and finish that roof now, the little bit that they had to do. Then we did a whole kind of renovation on the inside, on the ceiling part, because after many, many years of neglect and leakage and water damage, there was such problems with that roof and the ceiling tiles and all the rest of that, it was my decision, with the consultation of the members of council, to pull down that roof and put it back properly and do it right the first time. I think that's the ceiling, and that is, I think, kind of the tradition we're starting to do here in town, is to try to do it right the first time rather than patch it or put Band-Aids on it. I don't think that's the right approach. So that's moving forward very well. I want to thank the mayor for his involvement. In particular, I want to thank Frank Denizzo, who's been kind of my right-hand person to be out in front, run interference with the roofer, with the contractors in there, getting that place up to speed. And I think the public will be really happy with the turnout and how that goes. One last thing quickly, the Barclays event is coming to the Plainfield Country Club next week. They are utilizing the vocational school parking lot to stage some cars and some vehicles. And on the agenda, you'll see that there's some memorandums of understanding that I will be authorized to sign on behalf of the mayor and council, to provide some police support and some DPW support that we will get reimbursed for. So the Barclays is a huge PGA golf event, if people don't know, and we expect that there will be some dollars coming back to the community to offset our expenses. I will say that there will be travel delays in that area, the Raritan Road down by the where it kind of touches Edison and Scotch Plains in that area. And we'll make sure that we have the website updated in all our other areas, so the public is aware of what those traffic hotspots might be. All right, that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you for the thorough, review. Any?
Mayor, I have a comment for the manager.
Please.
Who's in charge of doing the striping, the line?
Public Works.
Okay, I see that they started to do it.
Yep.
And last year, I seen a lot of areas didn't get done, like around School 1, Evergreen. I noticed that
Mhm.
the middle of the road never got striped. I don't know when the last time it did get striped. It could have been several years ago. Are we addressing that? Are we going to get to it all this year?
Councilman, this is a good time to bring that up, because with the equipment that's on the road now, if you have some of those spots, or any member of council wants to give them to me, if there's some faded areas, some areas that need rehabilitation, let me know, and we'll get the forces mobilized.
Thank you.
But thanks for that question.
Yeah.
Just let me know if in more specifics.
Cool. I'll send you an email.
Thank you.
You can count on it. Anybody else, please?
So I have a report from the fire department. As you know, I proudly sit as the liaison to the fire department. I've been in communication with our fire chief a few times since our last meeting, and had an opportunity to speak with both he and the manager again today. You'll see that later on the agenda, there are resolutions 2015-168 and 2015-169. I really want to commend the fire department for being very proactive in really finding ways to share services with other municipalities, so that we are not only able to apply for grants, but that we did so in the most cost-efficient manner possible. And that was in a shared service with at least one other community. The things that I see happening in the fire department, and I know not everybody's directly involved, really have been very energizing to me this year. And our chief is just, I really just can't say enough. And I also just want to commend him too for just the openness and the communication. The fact that everything is going through the manager, and that tonight we have resolutions on here really facilitating the appropriate implementation of this process. I want to share some really good news too for some residents, and I think Ms. Perkins, especially, this is something that'll be near and dear to your heart as an advocate for our seniors. As a service to our senior citizens, the fire department will replace the standard batteries in smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors at no charge. The fire department will provide the batteries at no cost. In addition, any senior citizen that purchases a new smoke detector or carbon monoxide detector, the fire department will install it in the proper location. Please call the Fire Prevention Bureau at 322-6700, extension 501, and leave a message for either service. An inspector will arrange a mutually convenient time for this service. I would just like to ask residents who do take advantage of this program to make sure that you thank our fire department members when they come to your home, because they are a volunteer department that really just does a fantastic job. To take it a step further, I want you to also know that the fire department, in conjunction with the New Jersey Division of Fire Safety, has received a limited supply of smoke detectors for distribution to low-income residents of 1- and 2-family homes. We would ask that you please call the Fire Prevention Bureau at 322-6700, extension 501, and that the proper paperwork to apply for this program will be forwarded to you. A completion of the paperwork is required by the Division of Fire Safety to ensure eligibility. The fire department, here again, will install the detector. Only one detector is available per household. So these are really fantastic things, and these would be funded by grant dollars and will be implemented by volunteer efforts. So Chief is to be commended for that.
Yes, he is. Thank you for saying that.
Any other comments?
Yes, I have some notes from Recreation.
Please.
We have, for seniors, a trip to Royal Manor sponsored by Senior Advisory Committee. Trip date is November 12th, includes 4-course luncheon plus entertainment and dancing. Fee is $46. Registration date will be determined shortly. For more information, call 908-322-6700, extension 223. Registration for senior fitness classes. Registration begins September 2nd for senior dance, fitness, and yoga classes. Classes begin week of September 14th. Yoga takes place on Monday and Wednesdays. Dance fitness on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Registration can be done online or in person beginning that date. Call Recreation Office for more information. For recreation notes, field hockey, the Recreation Department is sponsoring a field hockey program for girls once again this fall, including a field hockey team for 6th through 8th graders. The cost for the clinic for 2nd to 5th grade and the team for 6th to 8th grade is $60. Registration is open and can be done online by visiting Community Pass and selecting the 2015 fall brochure. The Recreation Review will be out shortly, and as a reminder to all residents, will be available only electronically via the Township's website. Thank you.
So I just wanted to share with you, because I don't know if you know the history of the field hockey program, but this was an effort that was really spearheaded by 2 women in Scotch Plains, again, to increase the athletic offerings and the equity in our programs for our young girls. They're really to be commended. One is a very, very dear friend. They've done a fabulous job with this program, and if you have the opportunity on a Saturday afternoon when the soccer games have ended, you know, to see these girls out in the field practicing, it's really tremendous, and definitely a step, again, in the right direction for increasing the opportunities available to our young girls. Field hockey, for those of you who have teenage girls, you should be aware that this is a very nice means to an end, you know, for as far as college acceptances, and there's scholarship money out there. It's a big deal that we have this growing program. So
I agree.
that's a good job.
Great. Okay, is anything else?
I don't have any.
You're good? Everyone's good? Okay, next item up is our new business consent agenda. May I have a motion on it, please?
Mayor, I'd like to move the new business consent agenda, items number 2015-157 through items number 2015-172.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any comments?
Yes, Mayor. Unfortunately, we didn't have this on our conference agenda. We usually do a business review when we were rushed for time, so I apologize not for having brought it up upstairs. I did have a question on one item, one other thing I just wanted to highlight briefly. Resolution 2015-170, the monies allocating to Barton Ross for the exterior restoration of Scotch Hills Country Club. I wanted to highlight that. I think it's good, and I think it's important that we keep moving forward there. I did, however, I was a little bit surprised to see that on the agenda, in the sense that, as you'll remember, we hired Mr. Ross to do a pretty extensive analysis of that property, and in that analysis there were kind of 4 different options put to the council in terms of things you could do, notwithstanding the fact that pieces of them could be taken in a different direction so chosen if that was the will of the council. So I kind of thought that we would have addressed that decision first before proceeding with what this looks to be to me is basically the complete renovation of the structure all the way around. I think it's without question that you've got to do the front and the sides, but there were a couple options in that study that included a bit of an expanded use. Some were small bump outs in the back, some were, you know, in my opinion, way too big and way too costly. But I kind of would have thought we would have made a decision on the direction, long-term direction we wanted to go with just that property before going down this road. Now, to a certain extent, we've already headed down that road by redoing the roof, but I viewed that a little bit differently, in the sense that we had kind of an an emergency situation there where you really wanted to stop the leaking and those kinds of issues. So you put the roof on, understanding that maybe if you grow bigger, you got to take a little bit of it off. So that all being said, look, if the will of this council is keep the exterior exactly as it is and limit the options of that building by those exterior bounds, then so be it. In that case, I'd be willing to still support this, but I thought we would make that bigger decision before moving along with this part of the study.
I'll let you address that. Mr. Marabella, but I think it was always the intent of this governing body to preserve the historical footprint of this building. But please, it's time to move.
Well, that's how I understood it based on our capital discussions, putting some dollars together to just protect the, first do it in phases, right? So the roof first, then the outside second, or the exterior, and the third and probably the biggest phase will be the interior restoration. So, in my interest to move this process along, I know I've heard some kind of grandiose plans about, pulling a community center out the back and do all the rest of the stuff. I don't know. From my perspective, I wanted to, kind of protect the integrity of that historic site, do the roof, protect the exterior, and then, down the road, kind of take a look at the interior, which I think is going to be, the potential to restore that back, to its glory. Maybe not 100%, but it's certainly in a not only a usable fashion, but a historic fashion. I thought it was important to kind of move ahead. And I kind of was, accepting the will of this body that was the direction. There are other opportunities, I think, for, if this council is so inclined, for other places, maybe for a community center kind of thing. So I didn't know they were limited to just a spot, but
yeah, I'm not
I
saying,
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just bringing that up to the council. I think that if you go ahead with this immediately, then you'd be foolish to turn around in a couple of years and say, oh, now we want to do something a little bit larger with that property. Let's rip the back of it out. We'd be wasting money if we went that route after doing this.
I don't think it's the will of anybody to tear that back of that property out. And I think our capital budget, Mr. Llewellyn, was for this exterior renovation, not for some other grandiose program, which we all unanimously approved.
Well, so, I don't think the capital program necessarily committed us to a specific plan. I think the capital plan was, look, we need dollars, we know restoration needs to be done, here's a certain amount of dollars that's appropriate. That's what all capital budgets often are. They're an estimate. You need to have work that's done, so you put aside some money to start working on it, knowing that you're going to go through the details of that later on. So I don't think that was hamstringing us. So I'd leave it to any other members of council. Look, if everybody's comfortable with that, then so be it. But I just wanted to raise that issue. I'm sorry I didn't do it earlier in a conference meeting. It just worked out that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody else has any comment on that. If not, then I have one other item I wanted to.
No, I just want to say that the points that you're raising are prudent. I hear what you're saying. I do believe that when we discussed at Capitol, there was I remember talking about color, and really kind of getting a handle that we were going to keep the building, as it was, to preserve the historic nature. I could be wrong. I thought there was not only and apart from, in addition to, the concern to want to keep the historical integrity of the building, that there was also a secondary concern that by making some of those adjustments or additions to the building, it may disqualify us potentially from some funding that we could receive because of the historical nature of the building. I agree so much that we really should be looking at options for community centers. I just don't think, the more I learn about this place and the more I even understand the location, within the town, a community center, even in addition to some of the things that we heard today, that are there opportunities closer to the downtown that will really drive people into the business district? Are there opportunities to partner with things like the library, where we already have, some, so I think it's a really great discussion, but I'm comfortable moving forward with this.
Right. You had another comment?
Good. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page, because I see this as kind of a line in the sand on the direction we go there. So good, thank you for that. The other one I just wanted to highlight real briefly was, I mentioned this upstairs, but I just wanted to do it on the record in the business meeting. We're also renewing the contract for the television, and one of the things I understand that probably will come down the road when we get the Comcast grant money in is the ability to stream these business meetings online. I think that's good to do. I also wanted to, and we discussed briefly with the whole council, the idea of doing some sort of webcast or streaming of our conference meetings, because frankly, we come down to these meetings, we've got 30 things on a consent agenda. I'm highlighting 2 of them, but there's a ton of them here. If you want to hear some of the discussion about a lot of these items, that's where it happens, and I think we should make that available to the public. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Good. And just that's a good point. Just for clarification, as I explained to you upstairs as a member of the Technology Committee, they have been working on making this more accessible vis-a-vis streaming, and they're also in the process of looking to develop an app, which I think will create even more improved communications of what's going on in town. Furthermore, they're looking to stream the radio station so that it can be viewed either as a offering on a mobile unit or on one's, PC at home. So we've got some good things that are going on, as well as streaming it to our television station. And I have to tell you, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I watched TV 34, Mr. Marabella, and I then switched to our neighboring towns, and I got to tell you, this one, folks, we've got it. I mean, and if you've not seen TV 34 or 22, take a look. It's something we all should be very proud of. We made a commitment in January, and we're living up to it on all these fronts. So with that, can I call Minister?
Mayor, I had a
roll call.
I know,
Okay,
I'm sorry, but I had a
else?
comment on one of the agenda items. Resolution number 2015-172. You'll notice, members of the council, that the resolution is bolded because there was a change to it that I asked to be, that I asked for. I just want to really so when we came in this evening, there was a resolution item that would have authorized the police chief and the township manager to enter into an agreement with PGA Tour to provide police services and public works. I just think, as a matter of practice, we want to be cautious that negotiating or entering into contracts is something that is the governing body, and when appropriate, and the governing body determines so, the role of the township manager. No disrespect to all of our wonderful department heads, but I do believe that we want to be very careful with protocol there.
Right.
And just make sure that, at the table, and when we put the township on the, that this is done through your office, under the direction of the council exclusively.
Good point.
Okay?
Thank you for that.
So, no, thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the roll call now?
Mrs. Sheffield?
Aye.
Mr. Del Sorte?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanella?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Glover?
Aye, finally, thank you. This is gonna, you people are gonna love what happens with the Shady Rest. I know that for certain.
Mayor, I'd like to move the bill list in the amount of $6,790,364.14.
Is there a second? All right, anybody have any questions on the bill list they want to ask the manager of? Hearing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Sheffield?
Aye.
Mr. Del Sorte?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanella?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Glover?
Aye. We do have an introduction of an ordinance, 2015-18. Can you please read that by title only?
An ordinance
Lucina.
authorizing a tax agreement between the Township of Scotch Plains and Toll NJ LP for property located at Block 11301, Lot 1.02.
Mayor, I move that this ordinance be passed in first reading, published according to law for further consideration, and the public hearing be set for
September 15th.
September 15th at 7:00 p.m. in the Township Municipal Building, 430 Park Avenue, Scotch Plains.
Is there a second? Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Checchio?
Aye.
Mr. Del Sorte?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanella?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Glover?
Aye. All right. Next up is second public comment portion of our meeting. Please state your name and address.
Frank Festa, Ramapo Way. We discussed the senior bus and the fact that the Township of Scotch Plains and the Borough of Fanwood are negotiating for the purchase of the senior bus. And there's a driver, I assume, on this bus. And the salary
I think that was
for the
alluded to
driver?
and referenced in Mr. Marabella's comments to you at
Well,
the conference.
if the driver retires is the Borough of Fanwood going to pay for a portion of the retirement for the operator of that bus?
Yeah, I may speak for that. I don't believe so, because this is a new agreement that we're making with them, and that arrangement with Fanwood certainly predates this council, those agreements, those arrangements. So they would never have been asked, nor had we have anything that would suggest that they were on the hook for paying for that driver.
Well, going forward, are we going to ask the
Going forward is
Borough
what we're
of
doing,
Fanwood?
is we're looking, that is being negotiated as everything.
How would that possibly happen? Is the driver a union member?
Well, actually, if I can sort of hopefully clarify that. I'm assuming, again, that we're talking about an employee who's a member of the Public Employee Retirement System. So if they're a member of the Public Employee Retirement System, they contribute and the employer contributes while they're working. When the payment is made, it's actually made by the state. So the township doesn't pay the retirement. It comes from the state pension fund. So it wouldn't be a matter of somebody contributing to the pension payments that are going out. It's the matter of the contribution to the pension payment going in.
So the contribution will technically come from two municipalities to the same person?
I think conceivably, I don't know. What would, you haven't had that discussion with them.
No.
And we haven't discussed it as a body. Is it employee, right?
Fanwood has traditionally offset the expenses of the salary.
Right.
Over the several years.
Absolutely.
And so, but the township administers her salary and her benefits and all the rest. It's a Scotch Plains employee.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Mayor.
No, thank you. Thank you both. That was a little more information. Can't hurt us. Anybody else like to address the governing body? Seeing no one. Council comments?
Yes, Mayor, I have one comment I'd like to make. Knowing that earlier this evening, I actually wanted to highlight for folks, because the cameras were rolling here earlier tonight, but we had two pretty interesting presentations earlier tonight by planners for downtown revitalization. I know it's recorded. Hopefully it'll be put online and on TV 34, and I encourage people to listen in and weigh in on that if they have input. Knowing that meant we had a pretty short agenda, I had one item I sent to you, Mr. Mirabella. I wrote a memo, and it's following up on something I brought up in February, the topic of historic preservation for the downtown. We effectively, when it comes to historic preservation commission in town, our commission is defunct. And I brought it up back at the February meeting. Obviously, there were a lot of busy things at the beginning of the year, but I think it's important we come back to this sooner rather than later. So I've sent a memo there. I don't really want to try and have a discussion here. It wouldn't be fair to the folks on the council, as they haven't had a chance to even read my memo yet, but hopefully you can get that and think it over, and hopefully we can move forward on that sometime soon this year.
Yeah, and perhaps we can add it to the September
That'd be great.
conference agenda to have for discussion.
That'd be great.
Get it out to everybody at a time.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's
Thank
fine.
you very much.
Yep.
So I also would just like to encourage everyone to keep in mind that we have a festival coming up. It's obviously a very prideful time for the community. End of summer, it's an exciting event. Look forward to seeing everyone at the Super 50/50 booth and throughout the Labor Day weekend.
Thank you. Folks, if anybody's watching and would like to call into the governing body, our number here is 908-322-2076. I'll remind you that this is August 18th, and what you will see on TV in subsequent days is a recording, so don't call in. So with that, if somebody would like to chat with us, have a question of the governing body, 908-322-2076. Wait just a second. Not hearing anybody, I make a motion to adjourn, to go into executive session.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn into executive session.
For a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Whereas Article 6 of the Open Public Meetings Act provides that a public body may hold a closed session, and whereas the Township Council will during this meeting enter into discussion of the following matters: litigation updates, Calc versus the Township of Scotch Plains, whereas matters to be discussed in closed session are to remain in the strictest of confidence. by all Township Council members in furtherance of their fiduciary duties to the Township of Scotch Plains. Now therefore be it resolved, matters discussed at this meeting will be released to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon them in closed session no longer exist.
Thank you. All in favor of going into?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's ask everyone else to leave the room. We are in executive session.